So when are we going to decide that just being okay is not what we really want? It's like when we go around and we ask our friends, or even they ask us a lot of the times about how we're doing. The answer is, yeah, it's good. And it's almost like there's this underlying feeling that it could be better. Like a lot of us are in this place where we're getting by and we're doing like what we feel like we need to do, but we're not invigorated and we're not excited and we're not connected. So it seems like there's this epidemic of just being okay. And it's in part because in a lot of ways we work against ourselves. And the reason for this is we build a framework through history, through our childhood, and then growing up and getting into the reality of day-to-day life in the adult world. We build this framework of a safety net around us. And it's a safety net of the known. So we build an education around certain things, and we start to create constraints against ourselves related to these certain things. And those constraints are things you can imagine, like money constraints or constraints of wanting to be in areas in life that you're familiar with, whether that's professionally or personally. And this essentially dampens who we are, because as we create these constraints of comfort and these constraints of regularity and these constraints of safety, it actually dampens who we are at our core. Because what we start to do is turn into a person that lives in this box of constraints. And we move away from the freedom and liberation that is just acting on excitement. So you think about like a child just acting on what gives them joy and excitement. And so we get removed from this. And it makes you start to think how much we use our brain over our heart or our intuition. So essentially our brain starts to override our heart and our gut, and we start to make decisions based upon practicality instead of excitement. And it took me a really difficult situation in my own personal life to realize this when I lost a job. I was laid off from a job. And I had stayed in a place for a long time in the corporate world where I had the certainty of a paycheck and the certainty of a specific job description and the certainty of a specific job title. And the comfort in that was knowing that I was going to get paid, and also knowing what the job was, familiarity. So again, I started to create this constraint around myself because it was comfortable to be familiar with a situation, and it was comfortable to know that I was financially okay. So this was my pattern. So I created a pattern for myself. So we have to start thinking about where is our own pattern, where we've created these constraints for ourselves that keep us from living a liberated and free life. And it really starts to become about reframing risk in your mind, because what we're doing at the end of the day is we're trading excitement and invigoration for safety and regularity and the known. And that's a bad trade. It's a trade we don't want to make. If we actually took a lot of time to be introspective and think about that, we probably wouldn't make that trade. But the hustle of life and the day-to-day just has us getting by and not thinking about the dynamics of that trade that we're actually making. So again, we have to reframe risk in our mind, and we have to start operating more from our gut. And we have to believe that with alignment and authenticity and operating from our heart and gut, and letting some of these barriers that dampen who we are fall away. And we can do it slowly and thoughtfully. But in picking our spots and letting ourselves know where these barriers can fall away, we have a chance to really align and really take measured steps toward being authentic to ourselves. And that gets really, really exciting. And when we start to make decisions based on this aligned authentic nature, and we start to think about excitement first, the path starts to open. And what's really interesting about this is instead of making decisions from this framework that we created of safety, this framework of the known, and where we end up in a position where we're not invigorated because we started framing a decision from a box of safety in the known and making a decision based on that, we end up in a place that we don't like because we've made a decision that's not tied to us intuitively. It is based on keeping our safety box in place. And when we start to make these decisions to move on invigoration and excitement, which seems backward, but it's heart and gut over brain, when we actually start to do that, the path aligns for us because the energy we put into that path, the excitement we put into that path is obvious. And people react to us differently in that place. Things align differently in that place because our energy is centered in excitement and not keeping a box of comfort and safety around us. So start thinking about where you can break down this safety net and make these decisions based on exciting opportunity and watch the road open in front of you.